It is Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John, and that dashing young gentleman to my right is Richard. Hi, Richard.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just a reminder to you all, as I always do, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. If you like what we do, and some of you do, some of you don't, those of you that do, please give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. All three of those things give a little goose to the butt of YouTube's algorithm, and they go, ooh, like that when they get it in the videos. So please do that. Our main topic today, hashtag VariantGate, Richard.
Yeah, this is juicy. I've been enjoying watching this develop over time.
I was gonna cover it Friday for one reason, because it was breaking news, and I was gonna do the whole breaking news thing, and I forgot. So we're gonna cover it today. Also, we've got hot book of the week, our underrated books of the week, 25-year rule. You know how we do on Mondays. But first, Richard, free comic book day report. I went to Palm Springs.
Oh, I wish I had been in Palm Springs too. Instead, I went to I was here in Ohio. I went to a local comic book store who was doing an event. Not only were they doing free comic book day, but they were also doing a signing by none other than Chris Claremont.
Chris Claremont in Cleveland, Ohio for free comic book day.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm in Palm Springs. No guests. What's the picture?
As you can imagine, it was there were a lot of people there. Fortunately, the comic book store, Carol and John's, had experience doing this, doing the free comic book day. They had a separate line and a separate location for the free comic books, and then they had the main line for Chris Claremont. Opened at 10 was when he started doing signings. I got there at 9, and I was roughly number 50 in line. By the time 10 o'clock rolled around, there were at least 200 people behind me.
Oh, my goodness.
There were a lot of people that showed up for the signing. And Chris likes to talk. He likes to spend time with his fans. So I was number 50 in line. I didn't actually start. He started signing at 10. I didn't get to the front of the line until about 12:30.
Wow.
So at about 2, I hear they cut off the line. No one else. They weren't going to let anyone else line up. He stayed there until 7 doing signings. And it was. There were a lot of people who wanted to meet him, and justifiably so. He was a very personable, very intelligent man, like I've always imagined him to be. I had a little difficulty in that, and I waited all that time, and there's people around me. We were talking and chatting, and they're just like me. They were fans. They brought books. I bought 3 different X-Men books with me to get signed, and the people in front of me, was a couple in front of me who engaged with Chris. The line, they're trying to move the line on, because 50 people in 3 hours is just not going to make it.
No.
So they're trying to make people hurry up through the line. The people in front of me started talking to Chris about the X-Men storylines from Houses of X and Powers of 10 and a little bit before that. So they were trying to explain to Chris, who apparently was not up to speed with the newer storylines. And they got their book signed, and then they stood up to the sign and they kept talking to Chris.
Oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, I'm in front of Chris, and I would like to engage with him. I don't want to say a whole lot. I wanted to mention to him he's one of the reasons why I still read comic books. But I didn't have an opportunity. He was talking, so I actually, I was going to be that guy. So excuse me, it's my turn to talk to Chris, and they apologized and they backed off. But then Chris asked them another question, and this Chris Claremont, you got a chance to school Chris Claremont, you're going to do it. So they started talking to him again. So it's like, I'm not going to be the guy who is just a dick about the whole thing.
You should have said, "I am Richard from Modern God." Gosh darn it.
Well, if I had asserted myself again, and now I'm standing in front of Chris, and now he's looking at me like, who is this dick?
All right.
Actually, it's Richard. So he signed my books. He signed my 3 books. I got a picture with him. And so from that standpoint, it was successful. But still, I would have loved to have shared a few sentences with the man while I was standing there. After waiting for 3.5 hours. So that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. I actually didn't go to my local LCS to pick up books for free comic book day. I was just kind of off put by the whole
Oh,
experience. So it's all right. That's there. If they're available, I'll pick them up when I go in there on Monday, because I didn't pick up my books from Wednesday.
mhm.
If not, it wasn't meant to be.
Wow. Well, okay. I know Chris Claremont is incredibly gracious with fans. So when you have that, when you have a guest like that, you really need a bodyguard. You really need someone to be the bad guy and get
Right.
there and stop it and say, okay, let's move on, because he's not going to do it. He doesn't want to be rude to fans. So you really need someone from the store to kind of jump in and go, look, you guys, you had your moment. Now let Richard tell Chris how much he hated Mohawk Storm.
Yeah, he was spending 10 minutes with some people, 10, and when you've got 250, 300 people in line, that's just not going to work. I can understand that and wanting to move it forward, but when your turn is done, get out and let me talk to him for my 30 seconds.
I will say Carol and John's shop is really well run. Not a slam on them, but someone should have been there to be like, look, we got to keep this thing moving. And
Right.
No one wants to be the bad guy, unfortunately. Sometimes you got to be the bad guy. I went to Palm Springs and I stopped at our friend Interstellar Comics and Steve there. The place was jam-packed. He had stacks and stacks of everything for Free Comic Book Day. He had stacks of stray dogs. He had
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like not a problem at 2:00 in the afternoon just to stroll in and get everything you wanted. So good on you, Interstellar. And I'm going to go to my local LCS who held books for me as well. Shout out to Ryan and Pulp Fiction here in Long Beach. But it was a fun Free Comic Book Day for me. It wasn't as stressful as yours, apparently.
Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah. How are those puppies? Your feet? How are your dogs barking still from standing in line?
Oh man, 3 hours, 3.5 hours is a long time for someone my age to stand in one spot.
That's why I feel you. I'm with you. All right. Well, we hope you guys had a good Free Comic Book Day too. Let us know in the comments. But time to move on to our hot book of the week. It is Batman Urban Legends #6. Richard, have you ever heard of this book before this week?
I've not heard this title before. All of the press around this particular issue.
Well, it is a Batman anthology title. Several stories of people in the Batman family. Back in the day, we called the book Batman Family. Just, a heads up. It would be cool to have that name back, but, I'm not running DC Comics yet. This is the issue. You probably saw a lot of mainstream media attention around it, so kudos to DC for that. I saw it on NPR. I saw it on Associated Press, Reuters. Tim Drake, aka Robin, comes out as bisexual, shocking absolutely no one that's been reading comics for 30 years. This book is selling on eBay already anywhere from $25 to $40. I have theories about this. This book has an $8 cover price, and it's a Batman anthology title. So I can't imagine orders were very high on this issue. And I'm sure they didn't say in the solicits, Robin comes out. So there's a true scarcity here, I believe. I will say, you might disagree with me here, Richard. I'd flip this one quick if that's what you're going to do, because I'm not sure stuff like this ever has legs. Remember Alpha Flight 106 when North Star came out and that was a $20 book overnight? Well, it didn't last, did it? Remember when North Star got married and that was a $20 book overnight? Well, that didn't last.
No, these books celebrating these kinds of first appearances, I think, are important milestone, or not first appearance, but first occurrences are important milestones. But it really, to me, it's sad that we have to call out these kinds of events. I mean, it's his choice, it's his life. It has nothing to do with his ability to fight supervillains. So I'm not sure if I would see it being a book of value in 5 years, for example.
Is Dr. Wortham spinning in his grave? Or is he saying, I told you so? Which is it?
That's right. We've those poor innocents. We sure have
They've been seduced.
Yes.
If you don't know what we're talking about, Google seduction of the innocent, and you'll get up to speed. Yeah. So bottom line here, I agree with Richard. It's kind of a big meh. It's kind of a nothing burger. I see some more conservative aspects of the hobby getting really riled up about it, but really, have you read the books? This is not a shocker, people. Wasn't Tim Drake's Robin the one that had the little big toe separate from the rest of the boot on his booties?
No, I didn't notice that.
He was all ninja-y. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our main topic, and that is VariantGate. If you're not familiar with what's going on, we're gonna got you covered here. Walmart has been selling these comic book multi-packs for both Marvel and DC for a couple years now. And we've covered this on the show. It tends to be maybe one exclusive Walmart exclusive cover with a couple of overstock books. Let's be frank. They're going into the warehouse and grabbing anything and just, we made too many of this one, throw those in there. Well, over these couple of years, we've seen some regular ratio variants appear in these packs, 1 in 10s, 1 in 25s. I mean, a few months ago, I think I even talked about it here on the show. I pulled not one, but 2 Spectacular Spider-Man Frank Miller 1 in 1,000 sketch variants from these Walmart packs. So this is not new. What's new that's got everybody riled up is that we're seeing more and more of these ratio variants appear in these multi-packs, along with, and this is a big no-no in my opinion, store exclusives. So let's say, I don't know, Unknown Comics, they had a store exclusive. These are showing up at Walmart now in their packs. Newsflash, that's no longer a store exclusive if another store is selling it. Just saying. Probably the most notorious thing that people are finding in these packs are copies of the Gleason Amazing Spider-Man 55 second print variant. Now, this Gleason cover was a 1 in 25 for the stores, but there was also a Gleason online store variant that's showing up in these Walmart packs. Yikes, no. And Gleason's like, hey, what the heck? So I did a little experiment on the way to Palm Springs, Richard. I'm driving through the desert and I look over and I see a random Walmart in the middle of the Moreno Valley. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull over and just see if they have them. Got there and they had a whole slew of them behind the counter. They weren't out and you had to ask for them. And I told the nice woman working the register, I will take all of them, please. And she said, all of them? And yes, all of them. So there were 10 of them. 2 DC, 8 Marvel. Here's what I pulled. Lots of stuff. I'm not going to bore you with the stuff that just shows up over and over. I'm not going to bore you with the actual Walmart exclusive variants like Black Cat Annual #1, Walmart exclusive variant, Captain America Annual #1, Walmart exclusive variant.
Right. We've seen those, right?
That's the stuff you expect, right?
Right.
Here's what I pulled. I'm going to go from least impressive to most impressive, okay? So I got, all right, Superior Spider-Man #1, the Stan Lee Memorial variant.
Okay.
It's a $10 book. All right. That's not bad. That's not too shabby. Taskmaster #2, the 1 in 25 LaRocca variant. That's a $25 book. All right. Okay. And then I'm going through and I see this. The Nonstop Spider-Man #2, 1 in 100 Okazaki variant. It's a $40 book.
More impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So just out of those 8 packs, I got 3 ratio variants. I didn't get any store variants. So I didn't have anything like that happen. So they more than paid for themselves with just those 3 pulls. And let's not forget, that's being lost in all this. The actual Walmart variants do well in high grade.
Right.
The Black Cat Annual #1, if you get a 9.8, that's going to do well. Even selling it raw, you get $10 a pop for that. So let's not lose that part of it here. My guess, why is this happening? There's extras left over from the original print runs of these. We've talked about this. We've speculated on this. And this, just to be clear, is still pure speculation on our part. But when you have a 1 in 25 that you've got to print and only 464 stores qualify for it, Richard, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Right. There's a minimum print number that they're going to have to print.
You
And they're
can't.
supposed to pulp the extras, right?
Exactly. You can't go in and say, can you print 484 of these for me, world color?
Right.
No, they're going to toss you out and say, you got to at least do 500 or 1,000.
Mhm.
But you're right. Very good point. Technically, they're supposed to pulp what's left over. You leave some for damages and lost books and
Right.
unfulfilled orders. My other guess is that all these extra copies have been sitting in a warehouse gathering dust. Someone's got to pay rent for that stuff. When there's space in a warehouse, the company is paying rent for each space in that warehouse. I would imagine some hard charging bean counter that's trying to make a name for himself there said, we got to get rid of these books. And he may not be familiar with the fact that these are store exclusives, may not give a crap, frankly, and didn't want to pulp them. And so they just threw them in these Walmart bags.
Oh, that's horrible. I mean, for the store exclusives is one thing. The 1 in 1,000 ratio books, though, obviously they can't just print 50 copies if that's all that
Right.
they make the ratio. So I wonder how many of those are wandering around out there. It's really affects the value of those books that are available.
We're seeing it. I think that the Gleason second print variant is doing okay because it's that Gleason second print variant cover that everybody loves. But some of these other ratio books that were fetching high prices before are starting to drop a bit.
Yeah.
A lot of people are pulling that Thor hidden gem variant that was, $100 book, and now all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of them on eBay.
Yeah, Gleason said, hold on to your certificate of authenticity, because that may be the only thing that differentiates the book that you legitimately bought off of his website against one of these books pulled out of these Walmart boxes.
Yeah, but you can't have CGC slab that, you know?
No, that's true. It gets lost in that whole process.
You're going to have to sell it raw if you're going to do that. Now, there's a couple of things going on here. You got the collector's end of things. Hey, exciting. I got a 1 in 100 Spider-Man Virgin cover that's really cool that I can flip or keep or whatever I want to do with it. The retailer end of things, I'd be pissed if I was a retailer. We do love the retailers here. I'm going to defend the retailers. I would be pissed. You guys are telling me that as an incentive, you're trying to get me to order 25 of Taskmaster number 2.
Right.
Okay, I'll order 25 because I want to get that ratio variant that I can sell to a customer or give away at the store or whatever I do with it. And now that same guy off the street can walk into Walmart and walk out with one for $8, when they buy the 3-pack. I'd be pissed.
And justifiably so. I mean, this is a monumental screw up by whoever is running that particular warehouse.
Is it a screw up?
Well, you're right. They're supposed to hold back a certain percentage for damages, and it's typically 10% that they'll hold some back. Is that all we're seeing that's there, or did they just not pulp these books when they were supposed to pulp the excess?
Just you guys, you're on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, type in Walmart multi-pack unboxing, and you'll see all sorts of videos of great people in the community ripping these open on camera and just ratio variant after ratio variant. Boy, the one that cracks me up is Eternals. There must be 9,000 variants out there. I don't know what they were thinking about that. But yeah, I think it's going to affect the price on the secondary market too for a lot of these, and it's changing how I approach buying ratio variants. I was already cutting way back, and now I'm like, why bother?
Yeah, I stay away from ratios pretty much. Just the value of them is difficult to assess over time, and things like this are really, really affecting that.
Now, I will say this: in Marvel's credit, people are excited about Marvel Walmart variant packs now, and they're going out and buying them all. Hello.
Yeah.
Pulled over in the middle of the desert to do it. And it bums me out. The DC ones. Do you know what the DC ones have?
No, what?
4 books. Okay. And you have a chance of getting a foil cover exclusive in every 1 in 20 packs.
Oh, geez. That's horrible.
Come on, DC. all right.
If only someone could improve DC's ability to do marketing.
Hey. All right. What do you guys think? Again, this is 98% pure speculation on our part about why this is happening or what's going on. We're watching the news, we're watching everybody's reports, and it's interesting. So tell us what you're finding. Tell us what you think's going on. We want to hear from you in the comments. And maybe in some of these ratio variants 25 years from now, they'll be worth a lot of money. Huh? You like that one? Because it's time for the 25-year rule. It was I wouldn't say a half-hearted attempt at a
it was serviceable. It was serviceable.
A quarter or an eighth-hearted attempt. 25-year rule is when we look at books from the year 1996 and the good, the bad, the ugly. Today, Richard, I think you picked one that's a combination of all three. So what is it?
Yeah, I picked Storm #1 from 1996. This was a limited series, 4-issue limited series, story and dialogue by Warren Ellis, and the artist is Terry Dodson.
All right, I got to stop you there. Warren Ellis wrote a Storm miniseries, and I missed this? What?
Yeah, I wouldn't call this really his highlight of his work, to be honest.
Oh snap! Okay, go ahead.
This happens right after Storm kills Marrow, and she enlists the aid of Cable to help her apologize to the Morlocks through something called a ceremony of light. Well, that gets her sucked into some alternate dimension, and Cable thinks she's killed, but in reality, she's pulled into this pocket universe called The Hill by Mikhail Rasputin, who is Colossus's older brother, and she's witnessing a fight between the Morlocks, try to get to the top. It's really just a strange story.
What is happening?
I'm not really following it very well. The long and the short of it is, she battles with Mikhail Rasputin and manages to escape and stops a potential bombing of the real universe, or her universe, by the gene terrorists. And Callisto returns and is also battling here. And the thing that I like about it is she gets a new costume. She gets rid of the costume she had since the X-Men TV show, and she donned something a little bit more revealing.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a good point from that aspect. But to me, me personally, I didn't necessarily think it was a good outing. But it also just it smacks of 1996. There's a lot of storylines like this that I think people were kind of phoning in, and that's the feeling I get. If you're a fan of this limited series, let us know. Give us your particular point of view. But for mine, I really didn't think it was that good.
That's disappointing because I like Warren Ellis. In Planetary, he wrote one of my favorite miniseries of all time. Ended up being a miniseries because the reaction to it was so negative. They canceled it immediately. And that's Druid. And he wrote Hellstorm. He wrote a great on Hellstorm. So that's disappointing to hear this. I haven't read this, but it sounds incredibly convoluted and confusing and not what I would expect from a Storm miniseries.
Right.
Storm has a miniseries. Oh, great. She's going to go, help the Morlocks fight the Reavers or something. Nope. She's going to go into another dimension.
Yeah, this is her first solo series too. GPA wise, 9.8s are going for about $98. There are 23 9.8s on the census out of a total of 52 books. So there's representation there, but you don't have to go out and rush to buy this before the prices spike. You got some time. Even if it spikes because of Storm showing up in the MCU, I see a lot of other things becoming more valuable than this particular book.
Terry Dodson did the art, huh?
Yeah, Terry Dodson.
What do you think?
It's acceptable. It's good. I mean, it's not Adam Hughes, Uh,
The reason I asked is because you are such an Adam Hughes fan, and Terry Dodson, I jokingly refer to as the preeminent Adam Hughes. That's not Adam Hughes.
yeah, it's serviceable. It's
It,
okay.
that's what you want in a review. It's acceptable and serviceable.
It doesn't make me nauseous. Let's put it that way.
Well, it looks like you have a ringing endorsement for the Storm miniseries on both story and art, Richard. So check that out. I'm sure you can probably grab that in back issue bins for cover price or a little above, maybe.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. Well, good. That's an interesting pick. I can't wait for the Rogue miniseries where she goes to hell. What?
Well, anything with cable in it to me is
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Why bring cable into it? Yeah, okay, weirdness. You had me at Storm, you had me at Morlocks, you had me at Listo. There sounds like there could be a story there, but it just didn't happen. Does she have a mohawk?
No, she does not. She has her full flowing white hair.
There is a plus. I wish I had seen Claremont this weekend because I'd be like, look, what were you thinking with the mohawk?
Yeah. God, I wish I had thought that. I wish I had been able to ask that.
I was kitty pride in that moment. How could you? Ran out of the room. I'm sorry, kitten. All right, let's move on to our underrated books of the week. Mine, Richard, is one that I don't know if you have, and I think you should because you like the significance of this book. It's Destroyer Duck #1. Not only is this an excellent satirical story about the evils of corporations, especially those that publish comic books by Steve Gerber and Jack Kirby, it's about Gerber's ownership struggles with Marvel over Howard the Duck. It's also the first appearance of Groo the Wanderer by Sergio Aragones. Richard, would you be shocked if I told you the 90-day GPA or a CGC 9.8 of this book is $587?
I really would be. I remember Destroyer Duck. I don't remember ever buying it off the newsstand, but that's a lot of money for a book that really just isn't first tier in my opinion.
People want Groo, I think. The Destroyer Duck thing, Jack Kirby, that's great. That's like gravy, but people want that Groo first appearance. I looked this up today for the show, and I was like, I thought, oh, it's going to be a $100 book, $200 book. No, it's like a $600 book in 9.8. I still grab this book whenever I see it in a show. I don't think I've ever paid more than $10 or $15 for a copy. That's why that price really threw me for a loop.
I think you're absolutely right. It's the Groo appearance, and Groo has a following. I want to call it a cult following because I don't think it's necessarily mainstream, but there are a lot of people who do like Groo.
I'm going to flip that comment on its ear. Groo is hugely popular in the 80s and 90s, especially with what I call the civilians, people who didn't really read or collect comics like we do, the casual readers. They loved Groo. I had people that would come into the shop and just buy Groo and Conan. Those are the only two books they ever bought. And I don't think they saved them. You don't see a lot of high-grade Groo collections out there. I think it's still being published today. There's a Groo and Tarzan miniseries from Dark Horse that just came out. I think if there was ever a Groo cartoon, this thing would be a very popular cartoon, and it just might goose these books. But I think a lot of people, now 25-year rule, 30-year rule, have a fondness for Groo. And I know you do, and you're still trying to get your early Groos together, right?
Yeah, Groo is one of those characters that was ever present when I was growing up. It wasn't necessarily the first book I reached for on the shelf, but it was a book I always reached for. Yeah. So I've got Groo #1, and I would love to have a collection of all those early books, just again because reliving the childhood.
There are actual Groo keys that do well. The last issue is tough to find of the Epic series. The first appearance of Roberto, his dog, sells for a decent chunk. So there are some. Maybe it is a cult, but it never came across as a cult to me. It was almost like the reverse of a cult, where the mainstream people bought that, and the cult book was Cable going to hell with Storm or whatever the heck was going on over there.
Yeah. This is definitely a book that you don't have to be a Marvel fan to really appreciate.
Now, it's funny that your underrated book of the week is the pick you had because Stan Sakai is so closely tied with Groo.
Mhm.
He's been the letterer for Groo since the beginning. What's your book?
Yeah, my book is a modern book. It's a new book. It's Usagi Yojimbo number 20, the second print. This book just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
It is the first appearance of Yamamoto Yukichi, who is a character that knew came across Usagi early on in his life and did something that he regretted, and so he's remembered Usagi all this time. Runs into him as he's doing a task for his master who just recently passed. And later on, you find out he's actually a cousin of Usagi. So, and it's an interesting story. This is Stan is such a master at his craft. He basically tells the same stories he's told the same stories for the past 40 years.
Like Groo.
And I like Groo. He just tells them differently. He casts them differently and uses different characters in them. I could have sworn I read something just like this back in the 80s. But he writes it in a style that fits the time period, and you feel you're sucked into it. It's I feel this character is Yukichi. He follows, he finishes his mission, and he begins following Usagi in his wanderings. And he could continue if there's a potential this character can be an ongoing, long-term character, and potentially in the future maybe even get his own title. We'll see, because Stan has been faithful to Usagi, and I think it's paid off by he's just got a solid fan base. And with the new TV show coming out, this may be an opportunity for a younger version of Usagi to branch off into its own title. This book is still affordable. You can pick up a copy of this for under $20 off of eBay, or it may even be available still at your local comic book store. This is the second print. I like it because it's an homage to Usagi Yojimbo number 1 with that orange cover. The first print is also valuable, and I think it's really nice. There are also some store exclusives. Stan's sold copies that were a version of the original first print, and also a really cool Albedo 2 homage. So you can pick those up on his site. No GPA or censorship yet, obviously. It's just still too new of a book. But my opinion, buy it while it's cheap, because if this character becomes something permanent in Stan Sakai's universe, this could be a really key book.
I love that pick. If you had to place a bet, who would come to animated form first, Usagi or Groo? Who would you have picked?
Oh, I picked Usagi for sure.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. You would pick Groo?
I would pick Groo. I think Groo would probably. I'm obviously wrong, but I thought Groo would have more universal appeal.
Groo is more tongue in cheek, I think. He's you could I read Groo kind of like a comic strip, right. So it's I think he kind of falls apart when you have long form stories, just because he is more of Hagar the barbarian kind of, or Viking kind of thing. While Usagi, I think, works better in those 30-minute show than I think that Groo would work in.
Mark Evanier, who writes the book along with Sergio Groo, that is, always jokes that it's the easiest assignment because it's the same story every time. Groo walks into a new town, destroys town, leaves. So you might have a point there. That might get a little tiring, but it's so entertaining. All right, that is going to do it for us this week. Make sure you follow us at Bronze and Modern Gods on Facebook and Instagram. And if you like this video, like it. If you want to subscribe, that would be awesome. Remember, use YouTube for us. Whoop, right in a little keister there. It always helps. Richard, thank you once again, buddy. Sorry about your Chris Claremont experience.
It's all good. It's all good. I got to meet him. He's really, really nice man. I wish him all the best, and I hope that I get an opportunity to meet him again.
I'm telling you, next time, swing that. I'm from Bronze and Modern Gods.
I'm going to elbow. Next time, I'm just going to elbow.
Don't you know who I am? See if that works. have a feeling it won't. But yeah, okay. Well, we'll see you next time.
Everybody stay safe.